Hello guys, so if you're watching this back and it's not live, the Keeping Goals live Q&A is something I try and do on YouTube every week. This is the first one of 2020, so Happy New Year to you guys. If you're not watching it live, we try and do it at Thursdays, 5 PM UK time. Hi Bob, nice to see you. And hopefully you can jump on, ask me any questions you might have about goalkeeping, about keeping goals, and we can basically have a catch up. Holly, good to see you. Aaron, how to see you. Ryan, nice to see you. Kieran, Hazem, Akam, nice to see you guys. Happy New Year. Hope you had a good Christmas. Here is the first Keeping Goals live Q&A of 2020. So, nice to see you, Adrian. So, the first thing that happens on the Keeping Goals live Q&A is if you are a patron over at patreon.com/Conor O'Keefe, you get to ask the first questions of the Q&A. Hi Kai, hi Daniel, nice to see you. Aaron, nice to see you. And we do have a question from one of our patrons. So I answer the patrons' questions first, and then I'll answer your guys' questions. So Lisa had a question from Patreon, and she asked, are there any rules you hope the IFAB would implement to best protect keepers? And the IFAB are basically the people who set the rules for association football. So quickly, the only thing that I would say, protecting keepers, I think they do quite a good job of it. A lot of people say that keepers are overprotected, and it differs throughout the countries, but from my experience, they do a good job of protecting keepers in terms of the amount of competition allowed. You don't want to protect keepers where they're not involved, and if there's contact, there's a foul. But you need to make sure that, because often when keepers are going for the ball, they have their eyes only on the ball and they're at risk of greater impacts. You need to make sure as a referee that the game is protected. But in terms of equipment, I think everything's fine. You can obviously wear a skull cap if you want to wear a skull cap or a gum shield. I don't personally, but I know it's not a great answer, Lisa, but I would say keep the rules as they are. Don't try and overprotect them, but at the same time, make sure that they're looked after by referees. So, you guys, now that you're live on the Q&A, send over your questions. I will try my best to answer them. I've got about 10-15 minutes before I have to head off to training. So, Spikey says, how do you keep your hands warm in a game? I don't really, well, fortunately for me, I've never played in the climate where it's that cold. The coldest I played was Sweden, and that did get very cold, to be fair, about -10. And I didn't really feel it when I was training and playing with the gloves on and being in the game. It was okay. So if I would say, make sure you have a look at your gloves, make sure they're good quality, and they should be able to keep your hands warm. Holly says, how many times do you train a week? So Holly, what I try and do is I make sure that in my week, when I'm competing, when I'm in the middle of competition, I will try and train every single day, and then I'll have one day off and I'll have one game day. So 5 days a week I'll be training. On those 5 days, it'll be a mix between one session a day or 2 sessions a day, whether I'm combining team training with gym training or whether I'm doing my own training, such as distribution training, runs, sprint sessions, plyometrics. I will build in my week depending what I feel I need in order to be ready for my game. Kieran says, I want to be a keeper, but my dad isn't keen. How do I convince him? It's difficult when your family or friends don't agree with what you're doing. I've had it, people have had it. It's hard, as harsh as it sounds, it's down to you. It's your life, it's what you want to do. If you want to play in goal, you go and play in goal. It might be where you need help from your parents for lifts to training or stuff, but if you can get help from your teammates' parents, if they can give you a lift, if your parents can't, it's down to you. And I'm sure if they see that you love it and you enjoy it, then they will help and support you. But it's very difficult, but listen to yourself and do what you want to do. If that's to play in goal, then go and play in goal. John says, where do you aim to be in 3 years? So in 3 years, I will be 27, which sounds horrifically old. At 27, you're probably starting to come towards your peak as a goalkeeper. Goalkeepers do mature generally a little bit later. They have longer careers. So between 27 and 31, 32 is probably where you're at the top of your game. So I'll still be trying to improve. I'll still be trying to get better, still trying to learn. Hopefully I'll be playing at a very high level. I'll be performing well. I'm not sure where that will be, what country, what team, but I hope I'm still performing at a very high level and still trying to get better and improve. I hope Keeping Goals is still going. I hope you guys are still enjoying content, and I'm sure we'll have new things by then which you guys can enjoy. How do you conquer confidence issues? Confidence is obviously a huge part of goalkeeping. If you play in goal, a lot of your performance is based on your confidence, and you need to decide where you get your confidence from. If you get your confidence from people telling you you're great, or your teammates saying you're amazing, or parents or coaches saying you're amazing, then that's not very sustainable, because you will go through periods where that doesn't happen. You'll go through periods where you're not in good form, and if you rely on other people to say you're brilliant to be confident, then you're going to really struggle to get out of that bad form. What I try and do is build my confidence based on how I feel and what I'm seeing from myself in terms of improvement. If I can see myself getting better every day when I'm training and trying to learn new things, that gives me confidence that I'm on the right path. Therefore, I'm not relying on other people to give me confidence, and whether they think I'm brilliant or rubbish, I know that I'm getting better every day. So your confidence needs to be based on something internal rather than external. Adrian, you planning to come to Malta? I've never been to Malta. My brother's been to Malta on holiday, but I've never been. I'd love to go on holiday or to see it. I'd love to play football there one day. It sounds like an incredible country. So we'll see. But yeah, maybe one day in the future. Tips for short keepers. Matt, I think it was Matt that asked that question. In terms of smaller keepers, I think the perception is starting to change, where you don't have to be 6'4" to be a goalkeeper, especially in certain countries where it's not considered as important. In England, where I'm from originally, it is difficult if you're a smaller keeper. I'm a smaller keeper. But what you have to do is make sure that you're better than every other goalkeeper at every other area of goalkeeping, be that taking crosses, speed, power, strength, handling, positioning, shot stopping, flexibility. All these things that you can control, you need to make sure that you're the best at them. You can't control your height, so don't worry about it. Work on everything else that you can control, and then they've got no option but to pick you because you are the better goalkeeper. Played at any academies, and where did they go? Reese. I think you mean, did I play at any academies? I played at Crewe Alexandra when I was a kid, when I was 10, and then I played at Macclesfield Town, which was a centre of excellence, all the way through from 12 to the youth team, 16 to 18, and then as a first year pro at 19. Someone said, what did you study at university? Sorry, I didn't see your name. I studied international business at university, at Loughborough University. It was a 4-year course where I had 3 years in Loughborough and 1 year studying abroad, where I studied in Madrid. And really, really enjoyed it. Something a bit different from sport, separate from football, but I do enjoy business and I enjoyed studying it, and it was very rewarding to get my degree. So yeah, international business was my degree. Best keeper of all time, Ryan. Geez, that's a tough question. My personal favourite keeper was Iker Casillas. Is Iker Casillas? Hasn't officially retired yet. But there's been so many incredible keepers. Maichi, knee down technique. Oh, sorry, your question disappeared. How to get out of bad form. Again, bad form will come to everybody. Concentrate on setting yourself little goals and improving. So for each training session, each time you're training, make sure you set yourself a little goal of what you want to do. And as you achieve it, that'll give you a bit of confidence, and you'll continue to build that, and then you'll get yourself out of bad form. What training equipment do you recommend? Chetan, you don't really need much equipment, as long as you don't really need gloves if you don't want them, but if you've got gloves and a football, you can make drills. Obviously you can use other types of equipment like cones and ladders, or a goal even, but you don't need too much. Knee down or scooping technique. Okay, I talked about this on one of my Instagram posts recently. Different keepers have different opinions on this, and I found a lot of backlash from different cultures of goalkeeping in terms of a scoop technique versus a knee down technique. Personally, I prefer using a scoop technique rather than a knee down technique. I use both and I train both, but I will use a scoop technique more often than the other. That's because I feel, having played in England on a lot of non-league pitches where the ball will change direction, if you put a knee down, it solidifies yourself into the ground and it's hard to change direction if the ball bounces in a different way. With my legs open, a scooping technique allows me to move more freely if the ball takes a deviation. The problem then is you haven't got a knee to block it if it goes through your hands, but that means that your technique has to be perfect, so you have to practice it so that you never get it wrong. Obviously, when I've been training, I found that kind of Northern European goalkeeping cultures, UK, Germany, Scandinavia, have found that they also use a scooping technique. When I've been in Spain and trained in Spain, lots of goalkeeper coaches and goalkeepers have criticised me for not using the knee down technique. So people prefer different things. There are positives and negatives of both, but train both so that you can learn how to use both in the situation when it comes. Why are we shouting about Moussa Sissoko? Can we? Do you recommend studying while trying to go pro, and why? Great question. For me, from the UK, well, in England, I found that the football culture is that you have to have either an education or a professional sports career, and I believe that that's wrong. If you look in the US, you see so many people across sports who are given an education that they may not have normally received because they are good at sport, and they combine the two. There are flaws in that system, obviously, but in the UK, the fact that a lot of kids I know have had to sacrifice an education just to get the chance of being a pro and not made it is not right. So I believe that there should be the ability to combine both a good education and football. I was very fortunate that my club allowed me to do A-levels whilst I was doing a scholarship. No one else at the club was able to do that. I got that opportunity. I've studied for a degree and also played professional football. So hopefully in the future, maybe after I retire, that's something that I can work on to help other people to change that perception. And I think it is changing, but at the minute it's only the very, very big clubs that can afford to send kids for a proper education as well as maintaining them on a full-time football basis. So I think that does need to change in the UK. I don't know about other countries, but it is very important for me. Do you care what other people tell you, whether it's negative or positive? Hazem, good question. I think you have to listen. You have to be able to take opinions. I read a quote where it was saying, don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from. And that has some element of truth in it, but you have to be the judge at the end of the day. You know yourself best. You have trained with yourself more often than anyone else, played football with yourself more often than anyone else. You know your game. So if you can take advice from coaches, other players, that's fine, listen to it. If you don't think it's worth anything, disregard it, whether it's good or bad. You have to be the judge, whether it's good or bad feedback that you're getting. The most important perspective is yours. So listen and learn, but don't take it too much on board. What's the best opportunity you had in England before you went to Europa Point? Bob, in England in the summer, so I just graduated from Loughborough University. And I was looking for a club, and that's obviously where the opportunity with Europa Point came from. During that time, I was training with clubs in England. I'm not going to name the clubs, but a variety of clubs, mainly non-league clubs, that I had opportunities with. And compared to full-time football, where I wanted to be in order to improve and get better, it wasn't really the level that I wanted to be at. So the opportunity at Europa Point came to be full-time in terms of training and playing, and that was the best opportunity for me. My perspective is that for whatever reason, my career is going to take me all over the place before I get back to England, and I have to make sure that my CV is big enough and I've got as good as I can possibly be, probably before I return to England, in order to play league football, if that's where I want to be. So my career will be very different, but I'm sure I'll end up in England, hopefully at a good level, sometime soon. Trying to become a keeper coach. Luke, have you got any advice from what you've experienced with other coaches? Good question, Luke. From my point of view, I've not been a goalkeeper coach, so I can only say what I appreciate as a player. The best coaches I've had have had very good technical insight in terms of trying to improve me technically. They've combined that with the physical element in terms of understanding what goalkeepers need physically and trying to train that alongside technical improvements. But the most important thing as a coach is the honesty. I think goalkeeper coaches have a unique relationship with goalkeepers as opposed to managers, but goalkeeper coaches will have to have awkward conversations in terms of developing a relationship with a number one versus a number two or even a number three. So if you can be very open and honest with your goalkeepers about what you think they're good at, what you think they need to improve at, and also helping them to be the best that they can possibly be as a goalkeeper, which changes with everyone depending on body size, technique, past history of football. If you can develop those relationships well and communicate it well, that will be as important as having a technical and a physical knowledge of what they need, and tactically, obviously, as a goalkeeper. Have you ever had Osgood Slatter when you were younger? Actually, Bob, to be fair, I did. Not badly, fortunately, touch wood. A lot of lads I played with had it very badly, but I did have it a little bit. It was a struggle for me when I was about 14, 15, in the knees, if I'm not mistaken. And it was something that was difficult, but it didn't put me out for too long, and I think I kind of came through it. I didn't have a massive growth spurt. I kind of steadily grew as I got older, so I think that helped. What time now? 24. Okay, we've probably got about 5 more minutes before I gotta go. Shoot us your questions. Writing, recover from bad games. Yes, sorry, I didn't see who asked that question, but basically it was saying writing in terms of recovering from bad games. What I do, I've shown this in videos on keeping goals, is I analyse my footage straight away. So I will film the games and I'll make sure that I have that footage and I can watch it through and I can mark how I've done in different areas, such as shot save percentage, pass accuracy, taking crosses, and also more general decision making. By doing that, after that, I can analyse how I'm going to improve and how I'm going to get better and what I might need to focus on in the next training session. So writing down for each of those games is very important. I've actually got my book here. So this book is full of past 3 seasons worth of games, and I can go to any one of them and see what I did well, what I did badly. So that helps, regardless of whether it was a brilliant game or a negative game, to give you lessons to learn through and to go forward. Gazaniga fans, how much you get paid? I'm not going to talk about how much I get paid on here, but I am not paid enough in terms of living solely off football. I need to work other jobs in order to make sure that I can get by. I'm lucky that I'm living with Frankie and she works too. So we get by on what we're making, but I am not at the stage yet where I earn enough money solely from football for that to be my only job. Hugh, would you like to settle down in Spain? I don't think I'd like to settle down yet. I think I've still got more countries to see, more leagues to play in, and I think going from that, I don't know where I'm going to end up next. I love Spain as a country, love the culture, love the language, and I've really enjoyed living here this year and obviously a couple of years ago. But I wouldn't settle down here for that. Have you ever met a fan in real life? Hasn't. I've met people that have been enjoying the channel or follow me on Instagram and things like that, and that's amazing to hear what they enjoy about it and hear what gives them value. If you do see me in real life, make sure you say hi. Will Johnny be coming out to Spain soon? Good question. Yes, I think he's going to be coming out in February. Fingers crossed. We're still looking for when he comes, but it'll be great to get him here and film some Keeping Goals episodes properly like we used to do last year. What team do you support? I support Manchester United. They're my team. Is playing in the MLS an option in mind? I'd love to play in the MLS one day. Incredible league, brilliant teams, growing fan base. I'd love to play there. Who knows? What do you think of Adrian? Good question, Thomas. I think Adrian's done really well this year. I think he's made the step up personally, and he's been so important for Liverpool when Alisson hasn't been involved, which has been quite a lot this year, and he's made some big saves and made some big moments. He's made mistakes, but they've won all the games, I think, when he's been playing, so he's doing pretty well. Realistically, how high would you like to play? Reece, I don't think realism comes into it. I'm not going to sit here and go, I want to play in the Premier League or I want to play in La Liga. I want to get better every single year and improve and step up and step up and step up, and we'll see where that goes. Hopefully, Keeping Goals will demonstrate that and showcase it for the whole thing, and you can come along for the ride. Any tips for getting noticed by scouts? Jack, main thing with scouts is they look for you to be clean and be confident. Make sure you're playing as many games as possible so that the scouts can see you. And when you are playing, aim for that consistency in terms of how you perform your decision making. That comes with age and experience, but make sure that you concentrate and keep performing well as often as possible. Right, I've got probably a minute left. Send me a good question and I will finish up. Hi Jack, nice to see you. What's your thoughts on De Gea's season? Brian, I think he's still struggling a little bit from last year where he wasn't great, but he's had some very, very good games. Had a few poor mistakes, but still one of the best players at United. Right, one more question, and then I'm going to go. Yes, I do like Alisson. He's a very good keeper. I have played for an academy. I answered that a bit earlier before. Do you find looking into low floodlights difficult when dealing with crosses? Yes, Liam, good question. With crosses in floodlights, I've obviously found that when the floodlights are behind the goal, it's much easier because you can see the ball without looking into the light. Obviously, if the ball is coming through the floodlights, a lot of what you make the decision on can also be in terms of the body shape of the crosser, what they've done with their body, the amount of power they've put on it, and your muscle memory might help with the cross. There's not a tip in terms of how to beat it, but just try your best to focus on the ball and take it. If you can't catch it, punch it and deal with it as best as you can. Thanks, Aaron, appreciate that. Bob, no, I don't wear cut socks. I wear normal socks. Don't really understand the difference, to be honest. Reese, how supportive is Frankie? She's the best. Wouldn't be able to do it without her. I think that's a good one to end on. Right, thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thank you for your questions. The first episode of Keeping Goals for 2020 is going to be this Sunday. So I've set it as a premiere, so I'm going to watch it with you guys. 1 p.m. UK time on Sunday. I'll be answering questions in that premiere, so make sure you set your reminders for that. And I will watch the first episode of 2020 with you guys. Hope you all have a great week. Keep chasing improvement as always. Big 2020, you're right, Adrian. Yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be a good one. So, first Keeping Goals, Sunday, 1 p.m. UK time. There's a premiere, so I'll join you and watch and answer your questions there. Thanks for watching, guys. Thank you for your questions, and I'll see you on Sunday. Speak to you in a bit.